Are you ready? What?
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody.
Hello out there. What's going on? Tuesday night is here again, and we've got another amazing guest.
Yes, we're excited. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Andy. This is Todd, 21090, all things beer, bourbon, and rock and roll. And we are ready to go for another Tuesday edition of Glam and Drams. Happy you are here, and really excited for our guest tonight. We've been anticipating this for quite some time.
It has been a while.
I remember the very first time you said, Andy, you got something you got to try.
Yep.
I said, okay, well,
Yep.
hit me. And he pulls out a bottle of rice whiskey. And I was like, oh, rice.
I shouldn't have showed you the bottle.
No, you shouldn't have, but that's
biases.
the beautiful thing. I mean, I'm like, really, I'm not sure about this. And then the first thing that came to my mind was, sake and the whole 9 yards.
Which is not what this is.
And, well, needless to say, instantly, as soon as I had one whiff and sip of this puppy, I was ready to try every other offering that they had. And
yeah, for sure.
Became
fans.
Yeah, became fans instantly of it. But then the more you dive in, the more you learn there's a really cool backstory. And that the rest of the bourbon world was probably more in tune before we were to this. So
for sure.
So we're excited tonight. So
JT Meleck, guys, Mike Frugé.
Mike Frugé from JT Meleck will be joining us in 2 seconds. Just a quick reminder to everybody out there for this Friday. Our OCD number 5 from Glens Creek is dropping.
Single barrel is dropping to Patreon. So we are really excited. It's coming, guys. 3 days away?
3 days away. We are
amazing.
Single
stoked
barrel for this one.
The picture?
There's a picture of the old Crow double barrel 47.
We don't have to tell Mike what the name of that
If Mike
means.
is curious about the name, I'll be happy to let him know where that came from.
I think Mike will appreciate that because he started he's a farmer. Yeah, he does, other ventures. He wasn't a
I don't think there's any way you can compare the two.
He didn't really know a lot about whiskey at one point.
There's no way you can. Why don't we bring Mike up and let him actually
God.
In fact, I'll tell you what, Mike, I'm going to give you an intro.
Oh, no.
You can watch this from Todd.
No.
This is a perfect way to pull you up, and then we'll introduce Mike to the group. He's going to be like, what in the world is going on
God.
Here? All right, Mike. This will take 2 seconds. It's worth it.
Excellent. Okay, what you guys are all waiting for. Tonight on our live stream, our members only giveaway is something very special. We are giving away our top 5 whiskeys of 2020 to a lucky winner. Those are going to be the Knob Creek 12-year Select, the Wild Turkey Rare Breed Ride, the Rare Breed Masters Tier 17, the Old Crow Double Barrel 47, and then the Maker's Mark's P90X. All absolutely amazing bourbons that you can't find easily that Andy has. One lucky member will get it. So we can't wait to see you tonight, 8:30 p.m. And we'll have some fun. Cheers. I'm at the beach. That's where the live stream will be.
Jesus.
Welcome to the show. You can tell now you're with some whiskey experts. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Frugé from JT Meleck. Welcome to the show.
How are you, man?
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I will just say, Mike, that was when my whiskey journey first started. We started this channel as home brewers, right? So I didn't know a lot about whiskey. And obviously, I asked Andy for what are our top whiskeys of 2020 that he was into, really. And he couldn't get them to me right away. And I kept pestering him. And he just sent me a bunch of random made-up whiskeys that I thought were real. And you would think P90X would be the one that I would say, oh, that can't be real. But I still read it. So anyway, Mike, this is what you've gotten yourself into tonight.
So remember that hard stop? He's like, I gotta be out here in 15 minutes. We're gonna be done. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Frugé from JT Meleck. Thank you again for being here. We're super excited. We love to do this to you. I'm sure you're no stranger to the camera for this, but we're gonna put you on the spot. Give us the 50,000 foot overview for people who may not have heard of JT Meleck and what you're doing, because we're happy to bring this to them.
Well, that's a that's a big story. It depends on where you start.
Starting pre-K.
What's that?
Starting pre-K. Work your way up.
Well, so I'm a rice and crawfish farmer from Branch, Louisiana. Me and my brother have been farming since college. We started a small crawfish farm back then in around '83. Crawfish farming was just a pioneer industry at that time, and built our business slowly over the years. Started selling crawfish in Texas in the early '90s, and one crawfish truck, me driving it, truck back to Dallas, became Frugé Seafood Company. We service, pretty much all of Texas and Oklahoma, back in Louisiana with fresh seafood from all over the world. And somewhere around 2015 or so, we started, or at least I started contemplating what can we do extra to add value to our rice crop? How do we build a brand? Because by being with all these restaurants, we're around a lot of creative people, and we sell a commodity, and it's sort of a, you don't really have a brand. And we were trying to figure out, tie all this together. I had no idea we're going to end up in the distillation business, but one day we were sitting around, and as the farmers, anybody in the farm business knows, the crops go up and down in value. Sometimes they crash, and this is one of those years where things weren't looking too good. And what are we going to do with the rice crop? And I was having a meeting with my brother, the farmer. I'm sort of the dreamer, and he's the man that makes it happen. And I was trying to explain to him there was no way we could plant the rice crop this year. There's just no way we're going to make it. And if you know any farmers, or at least most of the ones I do, it's like trying to tell a Labrador you can't retrieve. They're going to plant the crop no matter what. And I was sitting there in the room, and the accountant was in the room, and my brother storms out. He leaves the room, and we're looking at each other like, what just happened? And I'm the guy, I said, I told you, I knew it was going to happen, And we were just sort of baffled, and in a fit of desperation, I said, I wonder if you can make vodka out of this stuff, and that's kind of where it started.
So that was it. Okay.
Yeah, I was at that time I was a vodka drinker, not an expert by any means, but I'd go to the local place, and they would give me some odd vodkas from all over the world, and I like to drink a martini or so every once in a while. The question started off as how much rice in a bottle, That's how naive we were to the process. And I started asking around. I went to some shows and conferences and whatnot, and kept asking people, like, I want to know what the conversion rate was. How much rice is in this bottle? And they said, right. I kept getting the same answers, like rice. Never heard of rice. Don't know anybody doing rice. Rice is not being done. And the more I, dug into it, of course, the bourbon craze was happening, and people really, lots of distilleries were opening, and everybody was making bourbon or rye or something. And I said, nobody's made anything out of rice. Like, there's nothing. And, there's nothing on a commercial scale.
Right.
If you know about distillation, rice is probably the most distilled grain on the planet, but it all happens in Asia, and it happens in different forms, but nothing, with yeast in the American style, if you will. And I started realizing there's no rice whiskey, there's no such thing. And I thought, honestly, for 3 or 4 years after we started, I said, surely there's something wrong, and we're going to find why this is not going to work. I'm an optimistic pessimist at heart, and I was looking for the problem, to solve it. And fortunately, met a lot of good people along the way who helped me and gave me a lot of good advice. One guy I always like to give credit to is Dave Shurick. He was the general manager at Woodford whenever Brown Forman started it. and became friends with him. And he really coached me. He didn't help me build the distillate, but he helped me to stay the course and be calm, if you will. Because early on, you start off with a clear distillate and you put it in a barrel, and there's a long wait, and lots of weird things happen. In about year 2 of
and what year is this, Mike? Is this around 2017, 2018? What year are we talking about?
So we distilled the first rice in 2017.
2017.
And we started barrels like in summer. And if I didn't realize this either, but it slowly quickly dawned on me that you can't really get into whiskey production slowly.
Yeah.
You've got to either get in or not, and we started off with 15 30-gallon barrels, and I waited on that for about 3 months, and I realized, well, we got to start filling barrels. If this is good, then we got to start production. And we immediately went to a standard barrel, a 53-gallon, because just different people, advice, whatever. And 4 years later, but along that process, in the experience of tasting the whiskey, we'd taste it every 6 months, because we were anxious to see what was happening. And in about year 2, it's deadly nasty.
It's not ready.
All the tannins are just in the distillate, and it's just bitter. It'll make your face pucker up. It's just not any good. And I was about to have a heart attack, and that's where Dave comes in, and he's calming me down on one of my panic calls to him. And he's like, look, you got to be calm. You got to be patient. You got a good, clean distillate. Let the barrel do its work. And, it turns out he was right. So,
right.
We were experimenting and, going out on a limb in a lot of ways with the rice. So, that was a big enough risk. So I chose to go with a sort of a proven barrel profile. We use a bourbon profile barrel, 53-gallon, char 3 or 4, kind of a standard issue, if you will, not to, because 60% of the flavor from the whiskey comes from the barrel.
Sure.
And, so
Mike, I heard you speak one time when you're talking about the the White Dog, the distillate that comes out for rice, is actually quite tasty in terms of its flavor profile compared to what some other whiskeys or bourbon would come off, not tasting the great right off the still. Is that true? And what is attributed to that? Because is it the starches you're converting? What is that's causing that sort of flavor to be even off the still pretty okay?
I don't know. I'm not a chemist, but I can tell you that my experience, I can only relate to this from my experience. So imagine, I know nothing about this, so I'm going to every distillery I can, talking to anybody who'll talk to me, going on all the tours and whatnot. And along the way, you taste a lot of distillate. From most of it bourbon at the time. And some of it is okay. Some of it's not very good, but coming from very good distilleries. So, it works well in the barrel. And when we started producing, or I should say running our test batches, let me backtrack a little bit. So if you're in South Louisiana, we have what I call a camp culture, and all the men cook, and we all cook for the holidays for the family, and we're going to eat something on top of rice almost every meal. That's what we do. And if you cook a lot, then you start to use, and if you're a rice farmer, then you start to notice the different flavor profiles of the grain itself, because different varieties taste different. And we tried a bunch of different varieties, but I had a hunch on what would work well, or so I thought. And I believe my hunch turned out to be right. And when we made these distillates and that particular variety, it very soft on the palate. You can really pick up on it with the vodka that we produce.
Okay.
It's slightly sweet, coming straight off the still. It smells like homemade bread.
Oh, wow.
That's
As opposed to like popcorn. Yeah.
Yeah. So we would, at some point, we'll probably offer that as a different expression, but I didn't want to come out with that because I didn't want to that to be everybody's first impression, because you only get one chance to be new. And, our goal was to have a very bold American style whiskey that would carry itself, and people would take it along with them to the camp, that if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't know it would be this good.
Well, that's a good problem to have. And you mentioned the sort of the campfire. If people are drinking around the camp, you've gotten in the market, right? That's the thing where they're taking it, they're bringing it home, they're sharing it with friends. You know what this sounds like? Reminiscent, Mike. Your story is to David Suez of Corbin Cash.
Well, you're a fourth generation farmer as well, are you not? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So the name JT Meleck is my great uncle John. As we were developing the brand, putting the story together, we had a very good group of people that helped us with that. And, I had no idea that we were going to name it this, so to speak. And everybody tries to build a brand story, but turned out our story was us. It was the family. It was how we got here, the whole thing. And I really, never, that's odd, but it never occurred to me that this all had happened. I just woke up one day on the farm, and but my great uncle John immigrated from Germany. They came down to Louisiana after the Civil War. There was quite a bit of land promotion because there was a lot of land in what we call the prairie of South Louisiana that hadn't been settled, and so the land was inexpensive, and it was being promoted, oddly enough, to promote rice farming, because these promoters thought rice was going to be the next big thing. It turned into a great industry for us locally, but nationally, I don't think it ever quite became that. But they came down and they formed a type of sustenance rice that they ate, and they called it Providence style because they didn't have the means of holding water or irrigation or any of that. So you had to depend on Providence to provide the water. You had to get the right rainfall. If you had a dry year, you wouldn't have a rice crop that year. And that sort of developed into the rice industry somewhere around the turn of the century and became a local industry, if you will. And, that went on from my grandfather to my dad to me and my brother.
That's great. That's really cool. Yeah, Todd was mentioning because we met a fourth generation farmer. They immigrated from Portugal and used Merced rye as a cover crop for their sweet potato farm out in Atwater, California. And he got this itch to do some whiskey himself and wondered how it would be to work with sweet potatoes and a cover crop Merced rye. And so I love it when these kind of it's organically, no pun intended, but kind of comes to fruition. It's different, but it's close to home, and the story is really neat because it's not a reach. It's something you guys know inside and out. It's just now we're going to take it. We're going to see if this transfers into the world of whiskey, and what a beautiful transition it ended up being. Because I have yet to meet someone in the whiskey world who is not a fan of JT Meleck once they try it, and that's not a compliment we can throw around to everyone, which is really cool. Your selection is sophisticated yet approachable for people who are novices but aficionados at the same time. So we're excited to dive into something.
Well, we already dove into the small batch, Mike. Maybe you can tell us. I thought I heard you say these are pretty small batches. They're like 6 to 8 barrel blends, or is that not true anymore? Is it larger blends in these small batches?
It depends on how the barrels are running, the time of the year, various different things. The largest batch we've ever done is about 15 barrels, so they're all very small, relative to industry people, industry giants, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, this is batch 324, so you've obviously put out a lot of batches of this.
Right.
I love the nose.
Yeah, the nose on this is so good. You know what I love about this? At 96 proof, you still have that nice. You talk about the creaminess and viscosity of it, but it is a sweet and spicy, beautiful whiskey at a lower proof, which I love.
This
and it's like what, $40 or $44? I mean, it's such an affordable whiskey in terms of today. I mean,
the nose is very decadent, which I love. It's really, it's just one of the nicest kind of. Yeah,
that's our favorite part of, or at least my favorite part of the whiskey, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well,
the good thing is drinks as well, but the nose is just.
Well, what do they say? 80% of what you taste comes from what you smell. So that you're off to a good start when you do that. I mean, because this is just a glorious nose.
Nose this all day. It's so sweet. And I could hear myself smelling. Sorry about that. It's just
you'll get used to it. You can hear him smacking his lips, smelling.
I mean, out there in the chat. By the way, I want to say if you guys have questions for Mike, please put them in the chat. We will try to get to them. I have a poll up. What JT Meleck bottles are your favorite? Is it the small batch, the high proof, a single barrel, or even the vodka? Go ahead and vote, and we'll take a look at that at the end of the night.
Hey, Mike, I have a question that I'm a little off the cuff, but. Like I said, when we were getting ready to introduce you onto the stream tonight, when Todd said you got to try this, it's a rice whiskey. Mm-hmm. Again, my head went to rice wine like sake. Like that's the first thing I think of because I mean, like you said, it's very heavily distilled grain, but not here. Right. Did you ever worry about that people would have a hard time understanding what they were going to drink because of the anomaly, because it was so different from everything else in the market, because the different can be good and bad all at the same time. People are scared to try things. Did that ever cross your mind? Like this might be a bit of a crazy venture.
Yeah, it certainly crossed our mind, and it still crosses our mind every time we do a tasting because my daughter has coined the term. She calls it the Meleck lean. And so you get somebody who walks up to the booth and they go, rice. And she goes, here, try it. And then they go, they take a sip and they go,
I love it.
It's like you can almost plan the show around it. They go lean to the side. They go. I can't how many grouchy bourbon I call them. They'll come up. They're experts on everything, and there's no way this rice is any good. And I said, well, you need to try it.
Yeah, no doubt.
I could tell you, lots of people have blinded it against some of the best stuff in the world, and it, sort of holds up. People think it's a bourbon.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you blind this, you would 100% think it's a bourbon.
That's what I love, because it's oftentimes when mash bills are heavy or 100% on any one particular grain, it becomes, you get this overpowering dominant note of something, whether it's grassy or vegetal, or it comes across as very crafty or too young. None of that happens here, which is really nice. There's something about the rice that just makes this work, as opposed to really any other style that I can think of with this type of a mash bill, which is really unique.
We were very patient. At 3 years, it was almost good, but not quite. And I go back to my coach Dave, and he encouraged me to wait another year, and most of our first make goes out at 4+ years, probably approaching 5 years by the time it physically gets in the bottle in some cases. So we're very patient. We only release the product that's ready. I literally taste every barrel myself personally, all the way. At some point we'll get so busy I won't be able to do that myself, but somebody will. And we grade it.
We'll help you with that.
Yeah, we could certainly. Andy, you've traveled to Louisiana a lot for work. You could certainly hang out with me and Mike. And I will say this: Joe has a question. There is there a specific rice? Is it white, brown, or I don't know what that is. Is there a specific? You mentioned the different varieties of grains and rice that you use. What is there a specific type of rice that are in this?
We're using a white rice. We're using a specific variety that we grow specifically for the whiskey. We grow other rice. I don't publish what I use because it's kind of sort of part of grandma's recipe, if you will. And
Sure, I get it.
that's but
Okay.
we tried some brown rice, like the bitterness added to the beer at that point.
Yep.
There had been other brown rice that I tried. It wasn't quite what I was looking for. Anyway, we tried various different varieties, and we settled on this one that we use.
Nice.
See, I love that too, because it was funny when we did the comparison. David did the same thing out for Corbin Cash. It was a very unique terroir and varietal of rye that was specific to that part of California that you don't find anywhere else. So I love the fact that there's a little bit of that secret there that goes into making this product, which is really cool.
And Robot Scott said he went to the New Orleans Bourbon Festival last year. It was the two best things that he tried there. Robot Scott, which ones did you try? I assume the small batch and maybe the high proof. I don't know, but that was last year. So he was singing your praises from last year. So that's really cool.
That's great.
This is fun. This is fun too. Unfortunately, we don't have it here at Taste. And since they said don't sleep on the vodka, and that's the other thing is when you're launching a brand, that sometimes it's those clear spirits that have to give you that initial lift off the ground as you are patiently waiting for the whiskey to be ready. Tell us a little bit about the vodka, because people are singing its praises.
Yeah.
So the vodka was the sort of the pivotal moment. You have to put yourself in my shoes at that time. I couldn't even make beer. I mean, I made some homemade beer and it wasn't very good.
Hey, you like us.
Yeah. And I had another set of good coaches, and we had tried a bunch of stuff, and they had made product for other people, and they were just losing their mind over how good the vodka was. And I didn't think it was, I wasn't sure, I was just, you get so confused because you're trying so many different things, but it sort of turned into almost an argument. And he says, well, what do you like to drink? And I said, well, I drink martinis, and blah, blah, blah. And we go down and he makes one up at the bar. No dirt, by the way, just dry vodka martini, a couple of olives, and that's how I like them. And, it's the first time I sipped it, it's just so soft on the palate, and you got a slight sweet nose to it. And it's dangerously drinkable. That's the best way I can explain it to you. When you mix it, if you use it as a mixer in anything citrus, it literally just disappears. You have no idea.
A little cranberry, maybe? What about that? Yeah. A little cranberry vodka?
Anything you want. I mean,
that sounds dangerously good.
Certainly sounds like a summer sipper to me, for sure. That's great. How has the vodka? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say smooth is an overused term, but I call it creamy texture.
There you go. There you go.
It's just no bite, just incredible. So,
has the vodka, now that your whiskey is sort of taken off, has that also grown, or have you seen a correlation in sales with, or has that gone down? Like, I'm curious how that, that's the vodka was the first thing you put out. You were aging the whiskey.
I don't know if it's the vodka just took off like a rocket.
Okay.
Best way I can describe it. We released the vodka in September of 2018, I think. Yeah, a year later. It took that long to get all the legal stuff done and get the bottles and everything labeled and everything. And we start off with, it's hard to get a distributor. It's hard to get a distributor to help you at all. And, of course, they were patting us on the head, hard with a case from you or whatever. We sell fish for a living.
Yeah.
And so we had our own team of salespeople. We went out on the street. We started promoting it. And I can't tell you how many times we sold the distributor out of stock, and they didn't even know they were out of stock. It's just, that's par for the course. But we went from, one case to 1,000 cases a month in December that year. And
wow.
We kind of leveled off. COVID really did a number on us because it kind of threw us totally off our game. We had focused on retail, on the grocery in Louisiana. you buy your liquor in the grocery stores mostly. There are private, independent liquor stores, but grocers sell quite a bit of it. So that's how we focused. That's how we met people. That's how we introduced it. And it's still, one of the mainstays. We're just sort of getting going in Texas, and it seems to have more legs than we thought over there. So who knows? It might be right there with the whiskey all the way along. So.
Well, speaking of having legs, and CJP, Corey brings up, I think, a really good question, because this has taken off. And I know a lot of groups and come in and really there's I think a long list to get your single barrels. Did you have any feeling, as Corey says, that the single barrel program would be so sought after in such a short time? And you guys have a long list to get in line to do your single barrels because there's so many people wanting one. How has that taken off? How are you managing that? Is that difficult? I know Mia does a really good job with that. How has that gone?
It really couldn't be going any better, but it's almost turned into a monster. I'll tell you, the only thing more popular than our single barrels was hand sanitizer.
And the single barrels taste much better.
The barrels, it's a combination of them being so good, and I think Mia's hard work.
Yeah, for sure.
She's really a rock star when it comes to that. Getting out there and telling our story, and being. She sort of instinctively knew to do this from the get-go, and I really didn't think about it. I didn't consider it. I got to give her all the credit, but she was very strategic about where the barrels went, how often they were released, making sure we didn't flood the market, with too many of them.
Yep.
And she's very good at that. She's a secret genius.
If anybody's wondering who Mia is, go to JT Meleck's Instagram or any of their social media feeds. You'll see right away. And boy, is she fun. And
Matt's here. He said he met you at the Super Bowl event in New Orleans. Matt Stewart, great guy and great whiskey. So he got some friends on the channel. Now we have a little connection to Louisiana for a Super Bowl. The last time our Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl was in
That's true.
New Orleans 12 years ago.
Okay.
So now I have to say this. I've been to New Orleans a bunch of times. Actually, I should say I've been to Louisiana a bunch of times. Who has the thicker accent? Is it Baton Rouge or New Orleans? Because there have been 2 occasions where I have been in restaurants and I could barely understand how to communicate with my wait staff because the accents were so heavy. So is it New Orleans or is it Baton Rouge?
It depends on that. That's a complicated. I'm a technical guy, so I'm gonna give you a technical answer. But
all right.
So New Orleans has its accent. It's kind of similar to Boston in a lot of ways. Louisiana is separated by water, and the accents reflect that. So I'm over on the west side of the Mississippi, in what we call Cajun country, and our accent is much flatter and significantly different. I don't have a thick one, but I do have an accent, and other people in this area, deeper and deeper, just depending on where they were raised and which town they came from, and who their friends. Baton Rouge is I would say has the least accent of those 3, because it's sort of a melting pot. It's the state capital, just a lot of people from different areas mixing together, and that's just an opinion. And then north of Alexandria, it's a different culture altogether, going further north. And then, when you get into Shreveport, it all changes quite a bit.
It is funny. They get to travel a lot around the States, and you get different accents, different places. I was outside of Tiger Stadium about a mile away, And I thought the poor waiter was going to lose it with me. I was like, I had to ask him to
can't
repeat
understand what you're
everything
saying.
like
What
five or six.
Are you speaking English?
6 times. And I this sweet lady next to me was kind of like translating that. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible.
Same great news.
We hear every word.
Yeah, that's right. They're probably like, look at Lee can tell he's from out of town.
Yeah.
Speaking of out of town, now we have now you have this connection to crawfish. Obviously, as a crawfish farmer, we have something here in Maryland because we talked a little bit before the show about Old Bay, but we have something here called an Oyster Bay shot, where you take a raw oyster, vodka, which you clearly have good vodka, a little dash of Old Bay, and you take that shot. And we do it here with ease. It's not a big deal. Is there something similar there? You got like a crawfish shooter with JT Meleck vodka or something, or is that something you could add to your?
I bet this drinks really well with a nice boil, seafood boil. I bet it drinks real nice.
We might have to look into that.
There you go. Oh, here you go.
When we first started, with the vodka again, before I realized where we were going with the whiskey, we thought we would have a crawfish flavored vodka, but we never got that far.
Yeah,
maybe we will, like a spicy vodka, maybe at some point.
You're ever in Maryland, we'll take you out for we'll let you do an Oyster Bay shot and see what your thoughts are.
Awesome.
That's right.
Sounds good.
So right now, Mike, we're drinking on the high proof. So I assume it's just at the small batch at a higher proof. Are we? Tell us a little bit about the high proof. It comes in at 118 proof.
Yeah, so
I absolutely love this bottle.
The light blue label that you have there, that's the high proof. The high proof, I guess you could say, it's an answer to, everything can't be a barrel pick. Not everything is worthy to be a barrel pick. You know, as I said earlier, we test out, we taste every barrel and I rate them. And you can't use all the barrels for barrel picks that are barrel picks because you need them to make a batch, and so
oh my God.
There was such a demand for the barrel picks that we started the high proof because people want more proof. And
and is that close to the barrel proof? So this one is at 120. So how high do you? I'm curious. We've done a lot with Still Austin in Texas, right? Mm-hmm. They have really hot summers, similar, I assume you.
Yep.
What fluctuation do you get in ABVs in some of these barrels? Are you getting up to the 130s, or is it around 126 or 28? The high 20s, the highest that these single barrels get to. And then we put everything down at about 122.5. Okay.
That's kind of the number we're shooting for. And they come out different, depending on what the angel share does. And not every barrel's the same. Some game proof, some lose proof. I can't tell you why that happens. I'm not a chemist, but the barrel picks are different than the high proof because the barrel picks tend to have their own personality, and you're usually dealing with different coopers, so you only get one cooper in that single barrel, and so you just get that barrel's expression. When I do a batch, I'm batching based on what I have to work with at that time. When we, bear in mind we knew nothing about what was going to happen to the whiskey. Now we do, so I'm strategically filling certain coopers so that I'll be able to blend easier.
Okay.
In the future, hopefully it turns into that. At least that's what I think. But back then we were just filling barrels from
any way you can, right? Yeah.
Yeah, any way we could, and they definitely each have personalities, and definitely the different coopers have different personalities is the best way I can explain it. The age of the wood, which you can't control. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know where the trees are coming from. All that matters in that single barrel.
Now, are you in the heat of the summer? Is there certain times where you're not pulling barrels to do in your batch? I mean, when it gets so hot, is there times where you just it's not a good time to pull the whiskey because of it's just super hot down there and it's not a good time to do it, or are you all year doing this?
So once they reach a certain point, like the 4.5 year period, we're fairly safe to pull them.
Okay.
If I got a 4 year, that's just barely a 4 year. Towards the end of the summer, I don't like pulling those barrels. They tend to be a little hot,
right?
And we let them go through another winter.
Okay.
The barrels, in the heat of the summer, everything expands. The alcohol penetrates the wood, and then you go through the winter. Fortunately, we do get cold enough to squeeze barrels, if you will. Get out. Every time to test barrels is between February and May. That's they all.
So we're in that time period, Andy.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a different kind of heat down there in the summer.
I'm sure.
I have been to Louisiana, July and August, quite a few, and I'm telling you right now, it is a different kind of hot. So I can see why you hold on.
Joe Graves wants to know, we have Utz crab chips here. Do they have any crawfish chips in Louisiana? That's a good question, Mike. Is there any crawfish potato chips? I don't know. They use a certain seasoning.
Well, they have crawfish. Yeah, Zatarain's has.
There you go.
They call crawfish chips. It's not
they got that voodoo thing with the funky bag.
Is that what it is?
I've had that when I was down there. I don't know if it's crawfish, but it's definitely Cajun.
It's, Zaps. I'm sorry.
Zaps. That's it.
There you go.
Wrong guy with credit, but somebody would have been emailing me tomorrow. But
Dan, the whiskey man, wants to know, and I had a question for you, Mike. Before I get, you mentioned 4.5 years. Are you looking to do higher age statements of your? Are you keeping barrels to see what it's like at 5, 6 years and 8? I mean, are you doing that actively to see how they're tasting? I mean, I'm curious.
Yeah. Okay. So we released our first 6 year this past winter. It was only in Louisiana. It sold out almost immediately.
I'm sure.
Oddly, there are a few bottles still floating around. Some people, we have a lot of customers who are very loyal to the brand.
Great.
But they're a country store out in the middle of nowhere.
That has it. Yeah.
They don't follow all the stuff, and
That's cool.
It's just another bottle to them. So they probably have a bottle hanging around.
That's great.
Yeah, Taste and Sensibility says he has a 6 year and it's fantastic. So I'm sure it is.
So we, when we, things change as you go, but we decided to hold back roughly 30% of the production from the 4 year to go to a 6 year, and I thought we would release it all, but then we had a very, very small batch that I had put down in 15-gallon barrels. Or 30-gallon barrels.
Okay.
And that was 7 years old this year. And we released, we did a special distillery only, I think, release that Mia did. And because that was so surprisingly good, I decided to hold back some of that 53-gallon barrel stock. And we're going to go to 8 years with it and see what happens. So I'm looking forward to that. Our whiskey, we've been concerned. A lot of people told me, rice wouldn't age or it would become over oaked, and they were all kind of to be scared of. And that 30-gallon expression, if you want to call it that, kind of turns into what I call whiskey candy. It's like a heavy toffee.
Sounds good.
It's a grown-up whiskey. It's not, you wouldn't not want to drink it. It's just that it's not as easy drinking as the 96, 4 year. But it was way better than we thought it was going to be, and I mean, everybody loved it. So we've got an 8 year coming for sure. After that.
We have the batch 424 again. I can't remember the price of this. This is priced MSRP of the high proof is what, Mike? It's really affordable when you think. Yeah,
we try to make everything very affordable. Luckily we made enough of it to make the numbers work. We want people to be able to buy it and consume it and share it. I don't want them to collect. We want a long time. That's the whole point of it, and we priced it that way on purpose. And we built our production out on purpose. We don't have a tasting room. We don't have a destination. People find us anyway, and they come anyhow, and they knock on the door.
And Mia greets them and probably takes them on a tour.
Yeah, exactly. But we want to build a brand, and we want people to be able to, as I said, take it to the camp and take it to the family gatherings, and
I love that.
Make us part of their celebration. So
now this is good. But so I mean, full transparency.
Yep.
We've had all these. I just absolutely fell in love
over
with
this single barrel.
Yes,
I kind of agree with you too.
This is just absolutely fantastic.
424. So how many batches a year are you putting out of both the small batch and the high proof, Mike? What's the deal? Roughly? Doesn't be exact.
Well, the numbers are misleading. It's not batch number 424. It's batch number 4 of the year 24.
Oh, okay. All right, that gives me some insight. Okay.
That's how we do our numbers.
Oh, nice. Okay, 3 of 24. Okay, good.
So,
okay, that makes sense.
I know how many total barrels we have. Last year we had roughly 150 barrels, and however many batches that made, and between that and the single barrels, that's kind of how that production went. We scaled our production up, and it's sort of capped off right now at about 700 barrels, which that'll come to market in another 3 or 4 years. Not at 700, but it'll 500 or whatever it'll be.
Yeah, there was a
share of that first year, if that makes sense.
William had a question for you, Mike. He said, "Are you using only virgin barrels, and are you planning on any finished in use? So are you doing any finishing of JT Meleck? Is that in the future?"
All of our barrels are virgin barrels. We're using what I call a profile barrel, Char 3 or 4. I split it up between 3 different Coopers, based on our experience with that. So it's all new American white oak barrels to be specific. We haven't really gotten into any kind of finishing yet. We really don't have the inventory to do that yet. We might do that as our inventory grows. We've sold out of all the whiskey, and it looks like we're on pace to do that again. So
yeah, is this a capacity issue, Mike? I mean, Corey says here, how difficult is to increase production from the 700? Are you looking to produce more? Is it you just can't produce enough? Is what's the that's a good problem to have?
Think about making whiskey, it's a money thing.
It's a money thing. There you go. There you guys go.
Yeah,
you buy more.
You have to invest. I mean, every decision you make is at least a 5-year decision.
Yeah.
700 was just a number that I felt comfortable that we could sustain, and it'll get us to that will make very sustainable. It'll allow us to do other things, perhaps build out a destination.
Beautiful.
If that makes sense. We have a great place to do that out on the farm. Right across the street from the distillery is a beautiful setting for it. But we don't like to borrow money, and we like to be stable. So
well, I'll tell you. You could, not that I want you to do this or anybody out there, but you could charge double what you charge on some of these stuff.
Shut up. What is wrong with you?
We have had these conversations before, though.
Yeah, you're right.
We love when people are A, transparent, and B, are not just trying to gouge customers because it's A, good, B, scarce, or C, both. You're C, both. And I think that is something that is commendable. I mean, tip of the cap to you, because you could be getting more for this. And the fact that more people are getting a quality product for a great price is awesome. And it's a rarity today. So, we appreciate that. And I think our viewers do too.
Yeah. We need a lot of fans. You got a small, I was telling somebody earlier today, taking any spirit to market is infinitely harder than making it.
Yeah.
It's, the world of distribution is quite the chore.
And speaking of which, I saw Mia, you just got into, I think, Oklahoma approval. Like that's the next, the approval to be, I thought I saw her say that. But now you got to find a distributor. It's very early on. I guess you get the licensing
Yeah,
to
so
be.
far out for me, I can't even see her taillights. You know,
I saw her post this on Instagram saying Oklahoma's coming. It's very early, but now we need to find which distributors you should use, what stores you should be. So it's very early, but I think that was one of the questions people were saying in the chat, Mike, is what is your footprint? We get all our stuff from your website, or if it's on shared pour or sealbacks or a single barrel, you know, the Bourbon Judge did it. Maybe we can do a single barrel one day. Yeah, go ahead.
Mia is working on a platform through one of our distributors to allow us to sort of, I guess you'd call it UPS stuff directly to retailers through this. I don't want to name names because
sure, it's fine.
But, so that'll allow us to service, you know, really in the know retailers that are throughout the country. You know, I think it allows us to get into like 15 states.
There you go.
Overnight. I think Oklahoma is part of that. And it allows us to build a fan base and get some pull through. And then you can, you got something more to offer when you go to the distributor. And, you know, hopefully that gets them behind the brand. But as far as standard distribution right now, of course, we're throughout the state. Just about anybody in Louisiana has it or can get it. Yeah. And we are in Arkansas, and we are in sort of barely getting into Texas, but I say barely. We're in all the specs, so that's enough.
Yeah, I think that's what Frank Miller said. He was in Texas recently and saw you in spec. JT Meleck was in specs where he was at. I think near
specs, and I think it's in like 163 stores. I don't know how many they have, but
nice.
He also said, "Hey, given your location is a French cask finish, maybe in your future with a big old please, please, please. Is that something that could happen?"
You never know.
All that's possible. It's we're wading through and trying not to get eaten by alligators as we.
There you go. All right, Mike, we got a question for you. So we love your brand. So if you're at a bar and you can't drink vodka and you can't drink JT Meleck, but you want a nice whiskey, what are some other whiskeys that you're fans of? It doesn't have to be anything. Just what I know you've drank some, right? I mean, or maybe it's a beer. I don't know. Is there a style of beer? Because we like beer here as well. We're beer, bourbon, and rock and roll. So
clearly the bar is not a good bar. They don't have JT. So
that's
what are you
true.
drinking?
I'm just saying, like, what do you drink? What do you besides don't say a martini because I know you like it. But what is it that maybe you would you go for? What is Mike Frugé drink?
You put me on the spot. You know,
I know.
I'm embarrass myself because.
Or maybe they have this question: is there a whiskey you tried early on before you even started making JT Meleck that you like? You know what? I like that.
Like
whiskey.
Maker's Mark P90X.
Jeez Louise. Very funny. Very funny.
Well, I like the I told this to somebody today. The most popular whiskey in Louisiana when I was growing up is probably Crown Royal and 7. I'm talking about high school.
I'm telling you, Mike would be a fun guy to hang out with.
Yeah, so that's where I come from. But
there you go.
The guys over at Wilderness Trail helped me a lot.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day, so
nice.
Fans of their stuff. And,
Hell yeah.
People send me stuff all the time, and if I pick one, then I'm gonna,
All right, we won't put you on the spot.
They're gonna see this video and they go all fuss at me. So.
Well, let me ask you this: you said you homebrew. Is there a certain type of style of beer that you like? So I know if you're homebrewing beer, that means you must be drinking beer. Is there a certain type of style that you really like? Or not?
Well, I hate to tell you this, but I like JT Meleck.
Staying true to the brand. Look, Mia would be so proud. Mia, if she's listening to this, well done.
I probably drank our 96 proof more than anything else.
All right, I hear you. All right,
Dave Shurik was with Woodford, so I drank.
Okay. Oh, so then we have to throw you a curveball since you're not doing we're getting anywhere with the alcohol. So you're distilling, or you're at the crawfish farm. You're doing your daily job. What's playing in the background? Is it jazz?
Music?
Is it
what kind
rock?
Of music?
Is it what are you listening to in the background? What
is Mike Frugé like?
Mike Frugé's listening to?
What does he like to listen to? Music is everyone loves music. What do you like? It could be anything.
So when I'm at work, I'm locked in, but when I'm listening to music, it's it's probably might be some 70s rock and roll,
Yes, God, let's go. Let's go, Mike.
all
Let's
that
go.
stuff, Leonard Skinner, that
Oh.
type of genre, in
Do you
there.
know who
But I
Nancy
also
Fraley
like,
is?
I like some newer stuff. My youngest boy is 19, and he sends me a hip hop rap song every once in a while that he likes, and
Love it.
he's into these I guess you call them Christian rappers, and so
I love it.
some of that stuff, and
Love that.
it's and I mean I got a wide range of music that I like. The Spotify is like the greatest invention ever, because if you find a song you like, you just click on the radio and then you find 100 more songs that you like. And I got about probably 30 different playlists of different moods, if you will.
That's fantastic.
And I read a lot, and I drink whiskey, I read,
There you go.
and enjoy an occasional cigar.
Nothing wrong with that.
That doesn't sound bad at all to me.
So we're drinking the single barrel. Again, we got all three of these from your website, Mike. So if people don't see JT Meleck in their stores across the country, we're in Maryland, and I bought all three of these from your website.
Mm-hmm. So Bourbon Outfitters is our online provider.
Yep.
They're in many states now. I can't name them all, but when we
A
first
lot.
started, they were only in like 12, but I think they're in 30 or so now. They can even ship to Louisiana, which is odd because we can't ship out.
That's crazy. Isn't that crazy?
Direct to consumer would be nice at some point.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of fans and we could, take care of that. But Bourbon Outfitters, then Specs in Texas, and pretty much everybody in Louisiana.
We will have a pick coming from Bourbon Outfitters very soon.
So, Mike, I got to say this. It's so funny because I do this. It's not intentional, but I always like, okay, if I'm casting the JT Meleck movie, who's playing Mike?
Oh.
And I got to tell you, I think Tom hit the nail right on the
What
head.
did Tom say?
He said, I figured it out. This guy is a Louisiana version of Richard Gere. Do you not see Mike standing next to Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman and be like,
Mike.
you've got,
Mike.
I do.
I wasn't in that movie.
So I was like, you know what? I can see the Richard Gere. Absolutely. I was trying to put a celebrity there. Hey,
maybe I wish I was.
It's way better than what I get.
Yeah, he gets.
I get Caillou and Scott Van Pelt.
He gets anybody bald with glasses.
With glasses.
You got Richard Gere. I'm gonna take that. I think he's spot on there.
That's great.
Yeah. So there you go. You got your doppelganger. That's pretty good.
I love that. Well, Mike, thinking about what's coming up in 2025 and beyond, like, what are you most excited about in terms of JT Meleck? And I'm just curious, what's on the horizon for this amazing brand that sort of has burst on the scene in the last few years?
It's expanding the footprint. A lot of that's that's the hard part. Getting the right people to join our team and building out the brand. Building out the ground game. Mia's at the tip of the spear. She's 30-something, 60-something. So there's a lot of difference in the energy level. And I'm so thankful to have her on board, kind of leading that charge. I think she has aspirations of being in California by the end of the year through some of those things we discussed. So,
very nice.
Every day is a new challenge,
No doubt about it.
Mike, have you ever thought, I mean, with the success of the whiskey and the vodka, have you ever thought about any other spirits? I mean, maybe a gin in the future or a rum or something. Has any other spirits crossed your mind, or you sticking to the tried and true?
I don't know if Rice will make gin or
well, David didn't think sweet potatoes could do it.
That's true.
We could probably make an excellent gin, but this might sound crazy, but I don't drink gin. So
neither do I, Mike.
Everything we do, I use this term often. We call it obsessively authentic.
Yeah.
And, we grow the grain, so whatever I'm going to make, we're going to grow it, or we're going to have our neighbors help us grow it or something like that. And Louisiana, where we are, is not there is some corn that's grown, so we are considering. I have some experimental bourbon. We did what I call rice bourbon. It's 40% rice, 60% corn,
Wow.
and will be a special release later this year, probably a distillery only thing. But Mia will post it. You'll be able to come get it if you want to, and you want to stay relevant, but you don't want to have 100 bottles.
Sure.
Because we don't have. I visited a lot of craft distilleries when I was going through all this, and if you have a tasting room, you can make a new expression of the week. And you sell them like crazy. But to bring a bottle to market and market it properly, and then build a product behind it, it's quite. Every decision we make is 5 years out, so if she sells us out again, then I got to look at the 700 number, and
she probably will.
She probably will.
Is there any talk or plans? I don't want to give you, will there be a tasting room eventually so some people can go visit and maybe do a tour? I mean, do you envision that down the future, or because of your, where you're located and the rice and crawfish farms that you have there, is that not like plausible?
And will there be air conditioning because it's hot in the summer?
So we would have 100,000 square foot tasting room if we were left up to me, or we'd already be doing that. So
right,
that's a hot debate all the time. But again, it comes down to being my conservative roots, and I want to have a stable pull through of this brand on the shelf, and then and a stable base of fans. Everybody on the show loves the brand. We wouldn't be here, but on the street, you have to be able to remain relevant.
No doubt. I love
that. So I do believe we'll have one. I think but we are in the middle of nowhere, so we have to have we got to have two things. We got to have a big enough fan base, and we got to have staff it.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Makes sense.
Remember, I have all this background in restaurants, big time restaurants, in Texas, and I see the difference between doing a good job and doing a not so good job, and I wouldn't be happy with anything that wasn't like great, I got pictures of barns and all kind of stuff that I'm saving, nice. I'm starting to visualize it, if that makes sense.
I love it. All right, so it's there, Andy. It's there. Yeah, it's there. Real quick, Whiskey Knows, Marty had a question. Mike, is a non-ABC state compared to an ABC state harder to get into? And maybe this is a question for Mia, too, because I know she's really into this. But Marty's North Carolina controlled state. Is it harder to get into those states as opposed to non-ABC?
It's typically it's more difficult, but the fan base can help with that by always asking for it. The control states they're hard on every level. On the marketing side, there's generally more rules. Like Mississippi is right next door to us, but it'll probably be one of the last places we go because it's a control state. So Texas is Texas is not much easier, but because of that barrel pick and Mia's sensational marketing, we got into specs, and that's usually the hardest thing to do to win them over. So
nice.
I like that comment there, Andy.
Yeah,
I mean, Mike, this is the idea here.
Here's a question for you. So we a good friend Corey. I hope you offer all you can eat crawfish. I'm gonna add on to that. If you had your choice, because we do get some blue crabs from Louisiana, but we love our Maryland local blue crabs here. Crawfish or crabs? What do you? If you only can pick one of the two on the menu,
crawfish. He's got a crawfish.
You do know I'm a crawfish farmer, right?
I question that.
You know what? I should have said that because I knew exactly because I'm such a steamed crab kind of guy. So
what we need
what
to do,
would it take for me to be converted into crawfish?
That's the question. We need to be converted.
When I was a little kid, we went to a place called Holly Beach, and be from here that is. We went crabbing. And we were staying at a camp on Holly Beach, and before 3 hurricanes destroyed the place,
Oh,
3 times, but it's rebuilt every time. It's still there. But sitting underneath one of these old Cajun camps, they're up on stilts and boiling crabs. I started eating crabs. And
you don't boil crabs. We steam crabs here in Maryland. We steam them. That's what we do.
Well, we boil them over here. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I didn't leave the table. I was there all night. They just kept they couldn't believe it. So I like them both. So
there you go.
See, fair enough. Yeah.
So Andy, when we get down to JT Meleck, we need to have some nice crawfish.
Well, I got to tell you, I love Cajun food. When I go to New Orleans, I do get crawfish. I love it. It's still
gumbo.
It's still not. It hasn't surpassed Maryland steamed crabs yet, so I will say that. But I do love going.
Maybe Mike can convert you. Andy.
In fact, let me tell you the best.
Maybe Mike can convert you.
One of the best things I've ever had in my entire life was in New Orleans. I had turtle soup.
Oh,
with
how about frog legs?
With quail eggs.
Oh, quail eggs.
And I gotta tell you, I remember the waiter said, you gotta try it. I was like, well, it doesn't sound very good. It was one of the best things I've ever had in my entire life. Everything they throw at you down there is just good.
And charbroiled oysters are another great thing
and alligator.
And alligator's fantastic. I mean, you can fry anything. You can fry a boot and it tastes good, Andy. Right? So that's the thing, So
no, it's not Oklahoma. This is Louisiana. They actually cook. I liked it. It's good.
That is true. That is true. Any other questions? No, I'm looking through this. Well, I got to say, Mike, one of the things that, we really love, and he always says that we say it, people for product. And you, Mia, the entire family down at JT Meleck is what I think a lot of our whiskey consumers really love, that you're great people and you put out great product as well. And that's a great combination to have. So, I mean, that's a kudos to you and your entire team and Mia and everybody who puts this out here.
Agreed.
It's just fantastic. And nothing but the best. Thank you for, what you do and how open and transparent you are and just making great whiskey and being great people.
You keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And let me say, I've been talking about Mia and myself and Mia all night, but I got a brother and another guy named Ed and Brett and Brad and just a whole bunch of people over here that make everything work.
And Courtney helped us set this up, by the way. Courtney is the one who helped us set this up.
Courtney is our graphic artist and my wife.
Oh, well, I didn't know that, but wonderful. Yeah. There you go.
It's a family business. I love it.
Yeah.
She designed the label.
Fantastic. Wow. That's amazing. I love that.
Mike, you a Saints fan out there? Who you pull for if you've got some sports?
If you can't, you have to be a Saints fan, but things haven't gone well for Saints for a while since they pushed that guy out of bounds, but that was
ever since Drew Brees left. Drew
Brees is coming in as the general manager, and he got a new coach coming in, so we're optimistic.
All right. And how about now? I would say this because I have two things about it.
Yeah.
College, obviously, college sports are huge in Louisiana. The LSU Tigers baseball stadium is nicer than half of the major league ballparks.
God, yes.
But if you had to pull for a big league team, who you guys pull for in Louisiana baseball? Who you guys pull for?
Braves?
LSU overshadows all the pros.
It doesn't matter.
That's kind of what
Ben
I thought.
McDonald didn't Ben McDonald went to Ben McDonald went to LSU.
LSU is just in a league by itself.
God, that stadium is gorgeous. I could only think of a college kid playing there, how lucky they are, because my God, is that a beautiful stadium. It is something. It is something you have to actually see because Tiger Stadium is just a massive giant bowl. It's huge.
Yeah.
Like you can say, okay, I can see 100,000 people sit, but that baseball stadium, I forget what the name of it is, but oh my goodness, is it gorgeous? It's a treasure. Yeah.
Well, Mike, stick around. We're going to end the show. Don't go anywhere. We want to just say something before we leave. But guys, I hopefully you enjoyed this as much as we did. We're huge fans, Mike. Andy, any last comments?
No, not at all. I appreciate you very much again for your transparency, your honesty, and just doing what you're doing. You converted me out of the gates as soon as I tried this, and I think everybody else who's trying it.
Yeah.
To those of you who maybe have been new to JT Meleck and you can find it, go find it. Search it. If someone can actually drop a link or something in
go
the
to
chat,
the website.
Go to the website.
You can get all three of these.
These are just absolutely every single one of them a gorgeous offering, and I can't wait to try the vodka. To be honest with you,
I know, right? We have to order that.
But Mike, we appreciate you. This is the first time on the show. Hopefully, not the last.
Yes.
But
we'll get me on too as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you guys should go on together. It'd be great. It'd be a ton of fun.
Or maybe we just make it down to JT Meleck and meet him in person, Andy.
No, I'm in Louisiana.
There you go.
Quite a bit, so that'd be
there you go.
We appreciate you very much, my friend. Stick around.
Yep.
Tyler, going to walk us out of here.
All right, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday for another great Glam and Drams. And Friday, OCD Glens Creek Single Barrel is dropping. So to our patrons.
So what should I take us out?
Just something quick, please.
It'll be fast. I'm trying to think of something really quick to get us out of here, Todd.
I mean, anything that makes fun of me, Andy, is usually what you pick. So it doesn't really matter.
Let's just thank everybody. This takes 2 seconds and we'll get out of here. Thanks,
guys.
We'll
See you next week.
Thank you very much.
Mike Frugé.